Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raptor Queens Podcast. My name is Sarah Khalil. Joining me today are my other Queens of the North, Sonali Sharma, Allison Hope, and Essie Magic. Today is an odd day. It's a weird day. We found out about 45 minutes ago that Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash, and we already recorded a separate podcast about 10 minutes dealing with that, and now we're in our regular scheduled programming. But if you notice that this podcast is weird or off, that's what's going on. It might be a little bit different than what you're used to hearing. We are going to continue with what we would normally do. We're going to cover the Raptors games this week. We're going to pick a King of the North, a court jester of the week, and just go through all-star selections, things happening around the league, things you might normally hear. Let's just do a quick recap of this week's games. So this week, the Raptors played against Atlanta, Philadelphia, and New York. They won all of their games, and just in case you don't remember, last week all of us predicted that the Raptors would go 3-0 this week, and we were all correct. So shout out to us Queens for getting that right. And we're just going to jump right into a big picture analysis, big picture commentary from the people on the pod, and hear what we all have to say about it. So, Allison, we're going to start with you. Big picture, what stood out to you this week about the Raptors games?
So before I start, in the spirit of competition, I would like to tell all of you that I think I won the predictions this week just on the strength of being a pessimist. So a 3-0 prediction would carry a little bit more weight coming from me. So I'd have to say I won that. It was a good week. The Atlanta game was a little tough to watch, and I was concerned when I saw Kyle Lowry getting put back in cold with a few minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. I think the tale of that game was the turnovers, 23 turnovers for Atlanta. And it was a very interesting game. John Collins and DeAndre Hunter are going to be very fun to watch. The Philly game, which I predicted as well, Philly won the first quarter, but then we just settled down and played our game. Interestingly, we out-rebounded them. And Fred was shooting hot. He was 8 for 17 from the floor and 6 for 7 from three. Mark 3 for 3, so that was a good game. And I've got to say, I was working for the Knicks game, so I didn't get to watch it. That was an expected win. It sounds like it was a little bit more difficult than we thought it would be, but 3-0 in the end. Again, a good week.
Excellent summary. Thank you for putting that together for us, Allison. Sonali, what comments do you have about games?
Yeah, no, just congratulations to Allison for having a really strong prediction and for being an optimist like the rest of us. And while Essie sometimes, she toes the line of being an optimist and a pessimist, but I think it's pretty clear that Sarah and I are totally on the optimism bandwagon here. So, so I mean, Atlanta Hawks, they're the worst team. That game was really difficult to watch. Allison, you put it correctly. I mean, Trae Young is also a really fantastic player, and having Pat McCaw play for 22 minutes, like he was just really bad against Trae Young, and that was really scary for me to watch. Favorite moment of that game was watching Norman shooting that 3-point where he looked at Vince Carter in the face, like he looked him right in the eyes, and then he shot it, and we all knew it was going to go in. And that was it was really cool to see all the reactions and seeing the players and just the kind of energy that Norman Powell is bringing to the game. And on the note of Vince Carter, I think today is his 43rd birthday, so happy birthday to Vince Carter. The Philly game, with Joel Embiid gone, again, Norman Powell, he killed it. There was that amazing dunk that he had. There was that tough shot by Freddie VanVleet. And then that transition dunk from Rondé Hollis Jefferson to Serge Ibaka. Wow, what a it felt like one of those plays that just felt like butter. So it was really, really exciting to see our team healthy and back together. The Knicks game, I didn't get to watch the Knicks game. I was doing law stuff, but when I went back to watch the highlights, again, one of those games where it really became clear that we're getting Pascal Siakam back, super confident, 23 points. After becoming an all-star, I think we're going to get the all-star Siakam back to our team as well too. So yeah, with RJ Barrett out, I don't know, like it just, it was a scary game. I think it was 118-112, but we pulled it through and straight 6 wins. We're killing it.
Yeah, more on the all-star stuff later. Essie, over to you for this week's games.
All right. So this week was an interesting week just because you can't take too much glory in it because of the teams we played against. I do want to mention, actually, while we're on the subject, that I actually won the prediction. And that's because I said it first. So yes, go SC Magic. So I just had to point that out. Sorry, Allison. So anyway, about my views of the week. Like I was saying, overall, we played competition that wasn't too scary, so it's hard to take too much from it. Shout out, by the way, to the Atlanta Hawks analysts and commentary, because sometimes I end up getting, is it called blanked out or blacked out of the programming, so I can't watch the Canadian broadcast, and they were such good commentators. They were so balanced. I believe it was Dominic Wilkins, and they talked about the Raptors so much. Normally I panic when I have to watch the other team's broadcast, but they were so good. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. They were even correcting the Raptors like they cared, like they just wanted to see good basketball. So I just had to give that little shout out. But on to the actual play of the week for the Raptors. One thing I want to say is this week was really good in terms of learning about the team. The fact that we saw them struggle with that press against Atlanta, it was like, oh goodness, thank God we went through this right now, because in the playoffs, that is going to happen a lot when things get, tense. I mean, we've seen the Raptors do a lot of pressing and trapping against other teams, but we don't usually see it a lot happen to them. So to see how they handled that, and it was really bad and scary at the end there, it's good that they learned that now so they can practice their ball handling in those moments. And it was kind of funny because Nick Nurse swapped in Pascal Siakam to kind of stop the bleeding. And then Pascal Siakam came in and literally just did the same thing and was turning over the ball. So it was just kind of funny to see that experience. Other than that, some things I noticed as well is that the team had a bit of a sluggish start in the Philly and NYC game. Like the first quarters, like against Philly, we were down 35-26. And then against New York, we were down 28-20. So slow start in those games. There was like errors, miscommunications, and especially against Philly, I was a bit worried about Fred because I was having kind of some flashbacks about him in the Philly series because he struggled in the first half, and then he came alive in the second half. He had 22 points, 6 for 7 from 3, 8 assists, almost a double-double. So I was really proud of him at the end. It was just funny because in the beginning, him and Kyle it's like they were dribbling into these giants when they were playing against Philly because they were just so big, and Fred and Kyle are really small. Another thing that really was exciting this week also is to just see the bench and how efficient and productive they're becoming now that we have Norm and Serge back there. I believe the bench was actually all plus in every single game this week. They were plus against New York, Philly, except for against Philly, Rondé was a -4. But other than that, the entire bench was plus. Serge especially plus 24 against Philly, Norm plus 23. So very excited about the bench and having that energy, and it also eases the nerves as well. Moving forward, so I'm excited. I think a little bit about this week. Again, a little worrisome about the sluggish starts and some of the things we saw about the pressing. But overall, I'm looking forward to seeing how they adapt next week and what we can take moving forward from how we saw them play.
Beautiful. Okay, so I guess I'll add my thoughts then. So as far as individual games go, I really didn't care too much about the Atlanta game or the New York Knicks game. I cared about the Philadelphia game in particular because, obviously this is a potential playoff matchup, and we want to see how we fare against the top teams in the East. And so I was thinking about this week more just in the context of what it is in the big picture for the season. And there's a couple of things. So first, this is the first full week where we have all of our players healthy. So this is a lot of the team getting to play together, learn about the various strengths and weaknesses of each lineup, and just like see how we actually function, which was great. When I look ahead at the schedule over the next little bit, I have to admit I'm a little bit concerned because the Raptors aren't playing that many winning teams from now basically until April. And this has actually been something that's concerned me for the whole season in some ways. At the very beginning of the season, the Raptors were out competing everyone. Like, you could just tell that they had this, the championship way of playing, that the playoffs were still with them in terms of how they were competing, and nobody was really expecting it. And they just played so hard and had an outstanding first bit to the season. Obviously there were injuries and they're still a highly competitive team. But I just can't help but feel like in a lot of ways the Raptors haven't been that challenged as a full squad yet. And so I just like, I want them to be playing really great teams heading into the playoffs so that we are mentally ready for what the playoffs are like. Anyway, I guess I know we're going to see all of this pick up as after the All-Star break. That's when intensity tends to pick up for the regular season. But big picture, I don't know. I guess I still don't feel like we really know what the Raptors are capable of or not capable of, because we're still waiting to like see an extended period of time against some like really great competition with the Raptors healthy. So that's my take. As far as Philadelphia goes, I was glad to, I actually really liked watching that game. I was, when we went into halftime, tied at 50, that made sense to me. I'm like, yes, these teams are relatively evenly matched. And it should be a competitive game between these two teams. So yeah, I was happy to see that. I was glad the Raptors pulled away, and yeah, that's going to be my big picture take on this whole thing. So any other comments on this week's games?
I did want to add to what you said, that even Joel Embiid wasn't playing in the Philly game, so that just adds to the fact that it was a bit of an easier week. And I agree with you also. I've been very concerned about, because they were, up until the Philly game, they were 6-12 against teams above 500. So yeah, I think we need to see a bit more challenge to gauge, how we are now that we have everyone back.
Exactly. All right. So like I said, this is going to be a shorter episode, so I'm going to take us into our next segment relatively quickly. Our next segment is the King of the North segment. And so each of us will pick a standout player from this week. Let's start. We'll go in reverse order. Essie, you can start. Who's your King of the North this week?
Sure. So my King of the North is Pascal Siakam. The fact that he got his first All-Star game appearance and as a starter is amazing. And he's the first G League player to be named an All-Star starter, I believe in general on the first time. I have to double check that. But the fact that he came from G League to an All-Star starter is so amazing. It just shows he's come a long way in such a short time. And, I'm just really proud of him. And also, too, I know we've been down about Pascal in the last few games. And believe me, there was a point where early in the week where he was on the path to be my court jester. And then he turned it around, and then the All-Star stuff came out. But one thing I will say I'm happy about him is that he is making up for it in other ways. Like, for example, against Philly, he had only 18 points and he shot 34% from the field, but he had 15 rebounds. You know what I mean? So he is trying to make up for it in other ways. And I know he only had 18 points against Atlanta. But overall, I'm happy with what he's doing for the Raptors and how he's been balancing it out with other aspects of the game. And one thing I want to point out that's very important is that he's also playing less minutes as well. So that could be impacting his production. If we look at January, he's averaging 29 minutes for January per game. And in December, he was averaging 36 minutes, November, 38 minutes. So I think that's also something to keep in mind and something I kept in mind in making my King of the North choice this week.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Sonali, you.
Yeah, I think Essie nailed it. Pascal was also my choice of the King of the North this week. And for all of the reasons, I mean, he's the most improved player. I mean, missed 11 games. He's coming back from what I call growing pains. And he's really persevering. And I am just really, really proud of him. So go number 43.
Yay!
Okay, great. Allison?
So I went with ICV this week, Fred VanVleet. 20 points against Atlanta, against Philly. He played 42 minutes, 6 of 7 from 3, 39 minutes against the Knicks, and he went 3 of 7, but 16 points nonetheless. And steals, 3 steals in the Atlanta game. So Fred is my King of the North this week. Pay the man.
Okay, so my King of the North is also Pascal Siakam. Congratulations on being named an all-star starter. That's what I want to say. Allison, though, to your point, it is really great to see Fred VanVleet playing this well. I'm also loving the chemistry between Fred and Siakam. I felt like that was really apparent early on in the season, and more we're seeing that as they both return to full form and be healthy. So that's great to see. All right, so we got 3 votes for Spicy P and 1 vote for Fred VanVleet. We'll talk more about voting later, all-star voting. But before we do, let's move to our court jester of the week. Someone who made us laugh, someone who maybe didn't play that well. I don't know, up for improvement. Essie, why don't you start again?
Sure. So my court jester of the week is going to be OG Anunoby, because really has just been getting by on his defense lately. And of course, we love his defense and his aggressiveness in getting steals. But as a starter, we do need some offensive production from him. Against Atlanta, he had only 4 points, 33% from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. And Philly, 0 points, minus 13. So definitely need some improvement there. And against New York, 7 points, 42% from the field. That's okay, but minus 5. So it's just, I need to see some improvement from him. And when he gets the ball also, it's like an immediate ball of nerves that come up for me, because his ball handling is just so bad that when he gets the ball, it's like, oh gosh, what's going to happen when he's dribbling? And this might be a bit of an extreme example. But I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when we had Charles Oakley on his team and he was a terrible dribbler. And when he got the ball, you're just like, oh gosh, I don't want that to happen to OG Anunoby. So, but right now he's kind of heading on that path. So hopefully he can improve his ball handling. So yeah, he's my court jester of the week, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. I feel like at some point we could do an extended segment on OG, because he really has had quite an up and down season, showing like bursts of potential, and then other games just nothing. So yeah, that's a very valid choice. Allison, what do you think for this week's court jester?
So I went with OG too, OG also, and I wrote down some of the same numbers as Essie. I remember he used to, Nick Nurse would run a lot of plays for OG, and a lot of them involved corner threes, like last year when he was playing. Just doesn't seem there's a lot of plays being run for him to get that corner 3, and when he does get it, he's not hitting them. A lot of his threes are coming at the top of the break now, though. And just to keep it brief, I mean, when you look at player development, there's like kind of linear development, year over year improvements. So looking at Norm Powell, he can kind of fit in that category if you look at the graph of his development. And then there's exponential development, like what we've seen from Pascal Siakam. And then I just look at OG, and I think it's fair to say he hasn't developed like we hoped he would, probably like the Raptors development team had hoped he would. This has been very much non-linear development. If you would look at a graph of his development, it would probably look something like the Himalayas. So I think we can throw out last year as an outlier. It was a bad year for him all around. But I think we need to look for more from OG coming, like going forward. This has been a bit of a disappointing year. I don't know if it's conditioning. I don't know if he's not getting enough minutes. It's just hard to say, but this is a little bit of a concern.
Got it. Okay. Sonali, over to you.
I'm going to defer to my queens and go with OG as well for all of the aforementioned reasons. Yeah.
All right. So I'll go differently. I decided this time around to go with who made me laugh, and sometimes with frustration, sometimes because I actually thought it was funny, and I'm going to go with Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. That guy cannot hit a layup. I just don't understand how he can be so close to the basket and just not hit his shots. It blows my mind. He didn't score any points in the Philadelphia game, and could have many, many times. And then there was just this one play in New York, and I can't remember. I think it was Pascal who missed the shot, and OG was, Rondé was right there for the putback, right there. And he went to go put it in the net and then knocked it out himself, got in his own way of the putback. And I just was like, oh, wow. Anyway, I'd love for that guy to hit some layups. I just don't know why he doesn't. So that's my take.
Wow, I'm proud of your choice, Sarah, going out on a limb there with that choice.
Well, I mean, you guys did a great job of maybe the more concerning one, but this to me was just I feel like this is such an easy fix, and yet it's been most of the year. I mean, mostly what we see from Rondé is he misses his first shot, but somehow manages to battle for position to get the second shot in. This week just lots and lots of misses and not able to get the putback in either. So anyway, okay, so that's that. We are now going to move on to a special segment. It's the All-Star segment, and we had this week the All-Stars were announced, and for the East, the All-Stars starters are Giannis. I don't know how to say his last name still. I think I'm just going to leave it. Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks, Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, Kemba Walker, and Trae Young. And in the West, Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, James Harden, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard. So really quickly, just to, for the home team take, Pascal Siakam, congratulations for being named an All-Star with these people. These are big names in the NBA, and you're starting alongside them. That's super rad. So ladies, let's have a quick talk about NBA All-Star, who got selected, anything you're missing, voting, etc. Go ahead, Allison.
So super happy for Pascal, but it's, I guess, bittersweet. If I'm sure everyone saw the clip of the interview talking about, he was speaking about his dad not being here. So, it was sad for him. And I'm a little bitter that Kyle Lowry was not voted to be a starting All-Star. I'm hope he's going to be a reserve, and I guess that will boost his chances of getting to the Hall of Fame. That's my angle on it.
Really, Allison? Are you bitter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, though. I mean, really, fair enough. Okay. Sonali?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Allison. I'm a little bit bitter about Kyle Lowry not being an All-Star, but I'm also kind of a bit, I still think it's pretty antiquated. It feels kind of, and maybe Essie, I know we were talking about how the voting system works, but the fact that Jimmy Butler is not a starter is it's kind of a big deal. it doesn't really make sense to me. And there's been a lot of chatter about that, but it's kind of a joke that he's not. And I think Jimmy should be a starter. And yeah, I don't really get the voting system. And I know we changed it 4 years ago, but I think we need to change it again. So nonetheless, it's going to be a great weekend in Chicago. So hopefully I can go, because I've been voting on those Tangerine online ballots to make myself be eligible to win a trip to Chicago that weekend.
Well, good luck to you, Sonali. All right, Essie, go ahead.
That kind of raises a question I have for Sonali. So obviously we'd want to keep Pascal, but between Giannis and yeah, just so you know, it's pronounced Giannis. I always correct Sarah on that, and so I feel like I have to say it again. So yeah, between Giannis and Joel Embiid, who would you replace with Jimmy Butler?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I would Hundo P replace Joel Embiid. Like, yeah. There's no question in my mind about that.
So I want to add to that. So I think what you're saying brings up a really big topic about the voting system and how it's divided in guards and forwards, because if there wasn't that division between the guards and forwards, I think that Jimmy Butler would have naturally gotten in. And that's also coincidentally what his coach was saying. He's like, it's a joke because of the fact that it's divided in that forward and guard. And Jimmy Butler's listed as a forward, even though he plays a lot at the guard position. So it's just a little bit odd. And then there's some controversy too with Trae Young being too young to be a starter so quickly in his career. And also because the Atlanta Hawks are losing. Overall, though, I'm very happy with the starting lineup, I want to say. And I was a little bit worried about Jimmy Butler replacing Pascal, but then thankfully the players don't like Jimmy Butler and they voted him 6th in their voting, which I think, tipped the scale to Pascal. I will say, though, speaking about Kyle Lowry being a starter, I'm actually worried about him just being chosen in general. And I know it's going to sound shocking to you guys, but hear me out. So I don't think the view of Kyle Lowry, like with the American broadcasters, is the same as how we view Kyle Lowry. Because I was watching TNT and, it's Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq. 3 of the 4 of them did not pick Kyle Lowry to make the reserves even. Only Ernie Johnson picked him. So I'm actually a little bit worried, and I'm getting nervous before they announce the reserves next week.
Fair enough. I actually do think there's reason to be nervous. I think you make a good point. I think Allison makes a good point. Kyle Lowry should be, but we don't know if he will be because he plays in Canada in some ways. That's why. And it just doesn't get the same media love. Yeah. Okay. So then let's. Okay, Sonali, I think it's time for us to spill some tea. So we're gonna move over to the tea time, and you get to take us away.
Yeah. So I mean, tea time this week, I'm trying to be a little bit more respectful around some of the issues around mental health and just I guess fat shaming in the league have come about. So with that in mind, I think one of the biggest news was in the NBA was the Zion Williamson's debut with the Pelicans on Wednesday. So 19 years old, he's a 6'6" man who weighs 285 pounds. He's a beast. And I think when people were watching that game, I know I certainly was very excited to watch him. He didn't have much time out on the court, and I think Alvin Gentry, I think that's the coach for their team, he specifically has this sort of mentality that he's not going to give him too much time, and it's going to be a day-to-day approach. And I think I even tweeted that it was like it was like having coffee with Zion Williamson. It was our first date as as viewers with this guy, but he did a phenomenal job. I think he got 17 points in the 3 minutes that he was out there, which was fantastic. And I didn't watch the game. I think there was a game last night. But this guy is something, and he is going to do something for the Jordan brand. I think there was a meme floating out there that Ben Simmons has had 203 career games with only 2 3-point shots, whereas Zion Williamson has had, well, now he's had 2 career games, but only 1 career game with, at the time, with 4 3-point shots. So I mean, this guy is something to watch out for, and I'm really excited for him. And he's only 19 years old, which is amazing. So I'm curious to hear what everyone else thinks about Zion, and I have a lot of love for him, and I feel really like protective of him, like an older sister.
Well, I know there's a lot of concern about, I'm not sure exactly why he was out to this point in the year, but playing at the weight that he is. But I kind of made me curious, and I looked up Shaq's playing weight, and mind you, he was 7'1", but he was playing at 325. So I'm not really sure if it's a weight issue.
So I would say that like it is a weight issue for him because Zion is only 6'6". You don't usually see 6'6" players 285 pounds. But what I will say though is that he is apparently only 8% body fat. So the majority of that actually muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I'll go into my view of my impression of Zion this week. I think he was phenomenal. I was blown away against the Spurs where he had limited minutes. He had 22 points, 8 for 11 from field goal percentage, and 17 points in the fourth quarter, 4 3-pointers, all made. I was very impressed. And then against Denver, 15 points, still very efficient, 7 for 9 from the field, plus 16. And it's funny because we all kind of judge him because he is so big, and you just don't expect him to be so athletic and quick. But he is. And there was one play where he was getting a rebound against Jakob Poeltl, and Jakob Poeltl was over 7'1", and Zion was right there in the air, grabbed that rebound. And then even on the fast break, when he appears to be jogging, he can just switch gears and just go really quickly. And it's like, maybe it's just me, I didn't expect it because he's so big, but he's just so athletic. And even in the paint, he's so big that he can bully his way. So I don't even know how players are going to be able to stop him because he can jump over people. He can bully his way in the paint. Players are not going to be able to stop him. And really the only thing that could stop him is potential health and injury, I think. One thing I will say as well is that I hope it doesn't negatively affect Brandon Ingram because he did struggle these last 2 games. And I think the two of them, if Brandon Ingram, adapts to Zion being there and the two develop some really good chemistry, I think they're going to be an amazing duo to watch. And it's actually great for the league in general in the future. And this is exactly what the league needs, seeing players like Zion, Luka, Trae Young, Brandon Ingram, being that next generation. I think it's really exciting, and I really can't wait to see what's next.
Essie, when you were talking about like him being a big guy and maybe people's perception of him as being like non-athletic, like looking at him, I mean, look at Nikola Jokic from Denver. I mean, there's a guy that doesn't look overly athletic, but he's pretty amazing to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's the thing is like, because the game is so fast now, I feel like it really helps these young guys show what they can do because it's not as much half court. They're running, they're lobbing, they're stealing. Like it's definitely really exciting to see what these players are doing.
Yeah, and it really makes for great basketball. And just to your point, Essie, about it's another new dynamic duo with the Pelicans, and there are already so many. And I look at next year, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just the competition amongst the league is just gonna get better. We've got KD coming back for Brooklyn, and just makes you realize it's really hard to win a championship, really hard. And so to every team that has ever won a championship, including the Raptors, obviously, well done. This is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Sonali, was there anything else that you wanted to take us through?
Well, I also just wanted to say that, it's really easy for someone like Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy to make those kind of comments. And really, I felt like it was a real distraction from the actual game and the actual welcoming that Zion deserved. And sort of segueing into, another story that came out during the week was the Delonte West video that surfaced. I think it was like midweek or earlier in the week. Just so people who haven't seen the video, which has been viral on YouTube, was here Delonte West, he's now 38. He's a former Celtics player. He is now homeless and he is an addict. He was the first round pick in 2004. And the video that we've all seen was of him in the middle of a highway, I think in DC somewhere, and allegedly getting beaten by a cop, I think it was. And so, yeah, it just sort of raises the question of sort of mental health in the NBA and what the league should be doing to support these players and former players. And I know that, in August of 2019, there was a new action plan in place by the NBA where they have at least one trained or licensed psychiatrist that's sort of on the roster and there for players to use. I know Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, they all sort of came out with the struggles of mental health. And from that, there was like a 5-part video series that was done around the stigma against depression in the league and all sorts of things. And so, yeah, it just really makes you think that A, it's really hard to win a championship, and B, that these are people behind these superhuman bodies and these superheroes that we perceive them to be, and that no one is immune is immune from the from everything from the social media criticism to just the general pressures of being on the team, being in your league, your coach, like who do you talk to, right? Because it's a contract, this is your profession that you're doing, and you have to be professional, but also wellness is something that we can all sort of
relate to. Yes. So yeah, it's been an interesting week, and I just want to and what they're doing, and I hope that we continue to foster and encourage these players, especially these young guys. I mean, Zion Williamson is 19 years old. The impact he's going to basically grow as an NBA player like that. This is going to be his home for the next few decades, hopefully, right? So. Yeah, thank you for that. I think just big picture on the whole spectrum, what I'm getting from it is, none of us are entitled to anything about these guys. And it's actually a privilege that we get to watch them play. And so the respect that like all human beings deserve really is I think what you're pointing to. So thank you. Thanks for the reminder. And we can always count on you to bring that. Okay, so we are going to wrap it up. We are going to do rapid fire predictions for this week. This week, here is what we have on the go. So we are playing the Spurs today. Again, we are playing the Hawks again on Tuesday. We are playing the Cavaliers again on Thursday, and then Detroit on Friday. Last time we played Detroit, we lost 3 of our players to injury. That cannot happen again. So quick takes, what will be our record this week? If you think there's a loss, who will it be against? Allison, your turn.
So there is no way we're losing today. This is a W. I'm going to say 4-0. I'm going out on a limb.
Oh, our pessimist going 4-0. Okay, that sounds good. Essie.
So I'm gonna go 4-0 too. I think you know, we have no excuse to lose these games. They're games we should win. And yeah, unless we are lackadaisical or, you know, sluggish, I think we should pull these out.
All right, Sonali.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4-0 as well too. I mean, I saw bits of the Cavs game yesterday with the Bulls, and I was like, with the amount of turnovers they had, I was just thinking, please, this kind of performance. This is what we need from you when you play against us. So.
All right, I'm going to go 4-0 as well. The only one I'm really worried about actually is today's game. All of the players just found out about Kobe Bryant's passing. We just have no idea how this is going to affect the mental headspace. Spurs are also playing really well right now. But I'm gonna call it a win. And by the time this is released, which is going to be after today's game, we'll know whether or not we're right. So, okay, that is it. A couple just final notes to wrap up. First of all, I want to do to shout out and congratulate the Dishes and Dimes podcast. It's the second all-woman podcast covering the Toronto Raptors. They had their first episode released on Monday. So congratulations to you ladies. It's so great to add your voices into the female sports media space. Really happy for all of you. You guys can follow them at Dishes Dimes Pod on Twitter. So congratulations. And also want to say thank you to Chris Walder. He started his podcast as well this week, so congratulations for that, and thank you also for the shout out and for providing your feedback and commentary on the episode that you listened to for us. That was really lovely. So really welcoming space. Thank you, just Raptors Media. Everyone's been so supportive and kind, and it's fun to be a part of it. So that is that. You can follow us at Raptor Queens on all of these. Twitter, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. That's where you can find us. And all the best to everybody this week. Yeah, just glad to have you all with us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.